They never saw the Americans, but their soldiers kept dying in the jungle. World War II was raging across the globe. Empires were colliding, nations were fighting for survival, and in the vast Pacific Ocean, a small, forgotten island became the stage for one of the most terrifying battles in modern history. Its name was Guadalcanal, a place of thick jungles, endless rain, deadly heat, and suffocating darkness. A place where men didn't just fight the enemy, they fought nature itself. And here, Japanese troops encountered something they had never faced before: America's jungle warfare. A jungle that was a weapon. Guadalcanal was not just a battlefield, it was a living nightmare. The jungle was dense and unforgiving. Visibility was limited to just a few meters. Mud swallowed boots, mosquitoes carried malaria, rot and decay filled the air. For Japanese soldiers, veterans of jungle campaigns across Asia, confidence was high. They believed they were the masters of jungle warfare. They had defeated British forces in Malaya. They had crushed resistance across Southeast Asia. But Guadalcanal was different, because here, the Americans didn't fight like an army. They fought like predators. America changed the rules of war. The U.S. Marines did not rely on massive frontal assaults. They avoided predictable maneuvers.
Movements. They abandoned rigid formations. Instead, they used small, flexible units, ambush tactics, constant movement, and complete silence. American soldiers blended into the jungle. They waited for hours, sometimes days. Japanese troops would march through narrow jungle paths, believing the area was clear. And then, gunfire erupted from nowhere. Men fell without seeing their enemy. And before the Japanese could respond, the Americans vanished. Japanese reports later described the fear. We never saw the enemy. Only death came out of the jungle. Night belonged to the Americans. The Japanese army prided itself on night combat. They believed darkness gave them the advantage. At Guadalcanal, they were wrong. American troops controlled the night. They used superior communication, better coordination, and disciplined patrols. They set traps. They conducted silent raids. They attacked supply lines. Japanese soldiers began to fear the darkness. One survivor recalled, "At night, every shadow felt alive. We believed the jungle itself was hunting us." Sleep became impossible. Exhaustion spread. Fear consumed even the most disciplined soldiers. Precision over brutality. Japanese doctrine emphasized aggressive charges and overwhelming spirit. The Americans relied on something different: firepower, accuracy,
And patience. Machine guns were placed strategically. Artillery was coordinated with deadly precision. Snipers operated invisibly from the trees. Every American bullet had purpose. Japanese frontal attacks were shredded before they reached American lines. One Japanese officer wrote, "They did not waste lives. They waited and destroyed us." The psychological collapse. Guadalcanal was not just a physical battle, it was psychological warfare. American forces constantly harassed Japanese positions. No rest, no peace, no safety. Even when there was no fighting, the fear remained. Japanese soldiers began to believe they were surrounded, even when they weren't. The jungle echoed with strange sounds. Branches snapped, leaves moved without explanation. Every noise felt like an American soldier watching, waiting. Morale collapsed. Hunger, disease, and isolation. While Americans struggled with supplies, the Japanese situation was far worse. U.S. naval and air power cut off Japanese reinforcements. Food shortages became severe. Japanese soldiers were starving, sick, weak. Meanwhile, American troops, though suffering, had better logistics and medical support. Malaria and dysentery killed more Japanese soldiers than American bullets.
One Japanese diary entry read,
"We fight not only the Americans, but hunger, sickness, and despair." A turning point in the Pacific War. Guadalcanal was the first major offensive victory for the United States in the Pacific, but more importantly, it shattered the myth of Japanese jungle superiority. The Japanese command realized something terrifying. America had learned how to fight their war, and fight it better. After months of brutal combat, Japan withdrew. Over 30,000 Japanese soldiers were killed or incapacitated. Guadalcanal was lost. Legacy of fear. For Japanese veterans, Guadalcanal remained a nightmare long after the war. They spoke of invisible enemies, endless fear, and a jungle that never slept. American jungle warfare changed military history. It proved that modern war was no longer about numbers alone, but adaptability, intelligence, and psychological dominance. Guadalcanal marked the moment the tide of the Pacific War began to turn. Final words. In the dark jungles of Guadalcanal, the Japanese army learned a brutal truth. The enemy they feared most was not always the one they could see. Sometimes it was the silence.